There have been talks about the right ways to discipline children and pupils in school. In the past, corporal punishment has taken its turn to be a serious point of debate between parents and children and teachers. There have been different ways which people have disagreed are not right to discipline a child. These types of punishment are the types that inflict serious wounds on the children, and there are also those types of punishments that damage them emotionally and mentally. But what are the right ways to discipline an individual who's going wayward? And what are the ways you can get the individual to come to an understanding that there's a way of life that is acceptable and there's another way of life that is not acceptable? There have been ways of using canes that have been prescribed as good to discipline a child. But there are also some teachers who take it to the extra level by using the cane as a weapon. Some people have argued that the only places to cane are the palms, the buttocks, and sometimes the back. But there are some teachers who don't mind where to cane. We have seen videos of teachers caning the head, lashing the face, lashing the stomachs, and some even lashing the legs, leaving serious scars on the bodies of the students. Were these teachers going out of the ordinary? Were they abusing their powers? And were they using indiscipline as a way to vent their anger on these students? We look at the types of punishment, and we look at the ones that are right and the ones that will be able to do the job to put the good fear into the student and prevent him or her from going wayward. Kneeling down is one form of punishment which most have agreed is one of the best ways to discipline the individual. Kneeling down could be made to happen when the individual's knees have touched the ground. In some cases, the individual is not just made to kneel down, but is made to kneel down for a long period of time. It could be for an hour or more. And in instances where the offense committed is very serious, the individual is made to hold or carry something above his head so that the kneeling down becomes very stressful for him. Kneeling down is one of those punishments that does not inflict wounds on the individual, and so many agreed that this was one of the best ways to punish the individual. Kneeling down could sometimes be a little too stressful if the individual is very heavy in weight. When you compare it to an individual who is slim or skinny, you'll notice that the one who has more weight will go through more stress. So for those individuals who are fat and heavy, it will not be very favorable to them. Another type of punishment is when the individual is made to squat or to do series of squats in a continuous flow. With the first type of squat, the individual is made to squat at an angle where his knees and thighs and legs have formed about 45 degrees, and he's made to be in that position for a long time. As time goes on, the muscle builds up stress because the legs become too weary of all the weight that is on the body in that position. The individual begins to shake and vibrate, and sweat follows after. When it is made to happen for a long time, sometimes the individual can't get too tired and either sit down or straighten himself up, which, depending on the teacher, would be called a break in the punishment. The other type of squat occurs when the individual is made to hold both ears. These ears and the holding of these ears represents the fact that the individual won't listen to correction. After he is made to hold the ears, he is made to bend down continuously and get up. So he squats and gets up, squats and gets up, squats and gets up, until the teacher tells him to stop. This is also a form of exercise, and this is seen as a type of punishment that is very good because, apart from getting the individual to see that his actions merit certain rewards, it also makes the individual fit physically to be able to be poised for class exercises and also just have general well-being in himself. These types of squats could also occur with weights, but in these situations, whilst he's squatting, his hands will not be on both ears, but it would be holding something heavy. There are also those punishments where the individual is made to stand and balance on one leg with one leg lifted up. This is also a type of punishment that is to put stress on the leg and to make the individual feel the weight of his problems. Going further, there are other types of exercises. Some involve the individual sitting down or sometimes lying down. But the most common ones we have seen in our schools, especially in the junior high, the primary schools and the senior high schools, are those that involve lashing and whipping. While this is also an effective way of punishment, the problem is some teachers don't lash in ways that will be prescribed. In worst case scenarios, there have been reports of teachers who used logs, sticks, and other hard substances instead of the ordinary cane to lash individuals. There was a teacher who had a staff in his hand and used it on an individual, wounding him badly. Now, before we go into the talk of whether the teachers are on the right path or not, we have to also consider the type of students that are bothering these teachers and going wayward. There are some students who are very stubborn. Some teachers have even described some students as demonic because all they do is cause problems, and no matter how many times they are punished, they continue to repeat the same things. There are also those students who have no regard for teachers, for laws, and for the system that is in place, and have an aim of going against the rules just for fun's sake. And then also, there are those students who are known to destroy school property and make wreck of that which is resourceful to the school. The thing here is, these students have to receive some form of punishment for them to know there is a way not to go, and there's supposed to be some form of feeling that will get them to stop repeating and destroying the things they do. But the thing is, we have to find a line between punishing them and killing them. When you have a cane in your hand, you should do your best to avoid hitting the individual on his face and on his head. You should also do your best to avoid poking the stick into the individual instead of lashing him with it. There are many people who have reported that their wards were wounded badly and were abused after showing images and pictures and clear evidence of the cuts and of the wounds that were made after the canes and whatever material the teachers used on them inflicted these wounds on them. While their issue is an issue of concern, we cannot let go the fact that individuals have to be trained in the way they should go. Because if we don't give them the right training at the early ages, they will grow up to be miscreants and menace to societies, bringing problems to the whole community and the nation at large. If we fail to put the right discipline in the child, we would have ourselves to blame when they grow up and turn into armed robbers, and they grow up and turn into people who destroy the nation with their ways. Now, we are not saying punishment is mandatory, but it is definitely necessary to keep the individual in check. One thing to also notice, the relationship between the teacher and the student sometimes could be damaged when these types of punishments are meted out. The bad thing about it is that some students will refuse to learn and put their all into a subject when the teacher who canes them is not liked by them. So what do we do to separate the individual's feelings about the teacher from his feelings about the subject? Is there a way we could educate or bring to light that there are two different things to dislike the teacher and to dislike the subject? Is there a way we could make the individual see that the teachers are not the same people who are going to be marking their future lives? We have to find a way to get these things in check so that in our punishing of the students, we don't influence them to dislike the subjects we hope they would be good in. Many things come into play when different types of corporal punishments are meted out. There are some teachers who are also disregarded because their punishments are too soft and individuals continue to misbehave even when the teachers are present. But there are some teachers who immediately when they get into the class, the students behave properly because they know the extent to which the teachers can go. So you see, many things come into play. But the thing is, which one is the best? And which one should we apply to, number one, bring the student to a point where he understands his actions and the consequences, and number two, keep the student in love of the subject he's learning. Corporal punishment and different types of punishments are meted out in our schools every day. But let's do well to keep a check on them, to control them, and to make sure that in general it affects the students in a positive way and not in a negative way. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.